Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session of our Fall 2023 series of Tuesday Times Roundtable, Overcoming Water Obstacles, Finding Purpose, and Taking Action. My name is Michelle Zaldivar, your Senior Program Coordinator here at the Office of Global Learning Initiatives. TTR is our flagship discussion series that brings together multiple perspectives on global trends and issues. You can learn more about Tuesday Times Roundtable, watch past recordings, or come back and reference this one at go.fiu.edu/TTR. As we engage in today's session, we ask that everyone please use the mics. We'll have some roaming mics around the room for engagement so that we can hear your contributions on that recording. If you haven't already, please take a moment to sign in. Medallion students or Honors College students, don't forget, take some sort of screenshot or sign in from that form to include in your points log for TTR. If you'd like to learn more about the opportunities available to undergraduate students at the Office of Global Learning Initiatives, including our Medallion and Peace Corps Prep and our fellowship programs, check out our website at goglobal.fiu.edu/students or follow us on Instagram at goglobalfiu. TTR is always grounded in a global issue and trend and is always linked to some sort of journalistic article where you can learn more. You can read today's article at go.fiu.edu/TTR0919. This is today's date, right? 0919. You can read the article. FIU provides anyone with @fiu.edu email address a free digital subscription to the New York Times. So this week's article is a New York Times article. You can set up your subscription to that at access.nyt.com. Leading our session today is the Chief Experience Officer of Blue Missions Group, Leslie Ramos. Blue Missions is an organization that works to ensure sustainable access to clean water for all forever. Herself an alumna of our very own FIU, Leslie conducted sustainable development research abroad during her undergraduate program and upon graduation in 2015 joined the founding team at Blue Missions to strengthen their sustainability initiatives and develop a public-facing side of the brand. Her work has taken her to rural communities across Latin America and involved from implementing international development theory to creative storytelling to developing local sustainability education programs. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Ms. Leslie Ramos.
Thank you, thank you. I don't know if I should stand.
Wherever you're comfortable. And then here's your...
Very cool. Oh yes, that's a good idea. Good idea. Hi everybody. How is everybody doing? Awake? At FIU, what's up? I'm so happy to be back at FIU. Like Michelle mentioned, I was also a student here. And I remember being on campus and just wanting to get out of here so bad. And it wasn't because I didn't love FIU, but it was because I remember in my IR courses, my professors would talk about different case studies, and I was learning about all these different international development theories, and I wanted to be on the other side of the books already. I wanted to be done reading. I wanted to be in the field with the safari hat, doing the thing that we all like think about. Raise your hand if you're in IR, or poli-sci, or international development, or business, or health. What are you guys doing here? Can you guys tell me what are some of the majors in the room? Okay. Your business, no? Oh, my bad. Okay.
English,
Nice. Okay, awesome. Free law. Okay, wow, what a mixed group. Okay, so I don't know if you guys had the same dreams and aspirations and frustrations that I had when I was here, that I just wanted to be abroad and traveling and already kind of doing international development work. But you kind of get what I mean, right? You're at a point where you're learning about the thing that eventually you want to do. So that's kind of how I felt. So it's really cool to be back here and be able to talk to all of you guys about my journey. And we're going to talk about, you know, how to work towards a more equitable and sustainable world. So before we get into that, where's the clicker? Oh. Okay, so we're going to start off with a little exercise, right? Because clean water is the basis of a more equitable and a sustainable world. So I want you to stand up if you have one point of water access at your house. If there's somewhere that you can get water, at least one, stand up. You have somewhere, I'm a little bit worried about this girl in the back. You good? Do we need to come to your house? All right, cool. So now stay standing if you have 2 points of access in your house, right? So, all right, 3. Go ahead. Are you guys counting? Count through them. I'll give you a second. Get to your number. Think about your toilet is a point of water access, right? Your bathtub is a point of water access. The hose outside that nobody looks at is a point of water access. Am I missing anything? The fridge, the little, that is a point of water access. Okay, so sit down once I pass your number, okay? So 3 points of access. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. You got a big house, girl. 13. How many bathrooms you got? Oh, wow. 14. 15? Are you the winner?
Like 20 plus.
You have 20? How? Where do you live?
I live in a farm, so we have a lot of horses.
Oh, loophole, loophole. Nice. So all of the horses have like their own point of access. All the animals, whatever. I don't know what your farm has. All right, cool, awesome. Okay, so interesting. So we have people in this room that have up to 20 points of access to water, and we're here to talk to you today about UN goal number 6, which is clean water and sanitation for all. So this is just getting people with 1 point of access to clean water. And whether you believe it or not, this has not been achieved yet, right? Access to the most basic element to sustain life. Not everybody has that. There are over 1 billion people that lack access to that source today, even though we have access to artificial intelligence in our pockets right now. So it seems like something that we should have already figured out, but we're working on it. And I want to get into what are the goals, right? Thank you, Nikki, for smiling. I appreciate that. Thank you. So what are the goals? So for the UN, goal number 6, the goal is to achieve universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water for all. The same goes for sanitation and hygiene, which is just an improved place to use the bathroom. And then the second 2 goals, specifics within the goal, are about protecting the water sources themselves, right? So it's not just about having a faucet that you can open and get a drink of water immediately, but also what's behind the faucet? What is supplying you with clean water? And how do we make sure that it stays full and that it stays free from contaminants? So let's check on how the world is doing right now. So in the year 2000, the UN set all of these goals to make the world a more equitable, sustainable, better place. It's called the UN SDGs and Sustainable Development Goals. And essentially they said by 2015, we want everybody to have access to clean water. Then it was like 2015 and they were like, okay, just kidding. Let's set this goal to 2030. And we have made some progress, and I'll show you now, but still to this day, there's 2.2 billion people that lack safely managed drinking water. So that is, do you know how many people there are in the world today, right now? Who can tell me? Who can ask ChatGPT real quick? 8 billion? Okay, I don't know. I'm asking you. But so it's still a significant percent of the world that is lacking. It's about 26% of the global population that does not meet this UN requirement. This is the progress that we've made since 2000. So in the year 2000, we were closer to 62% of the world with access to safely managed drinking water, and today we're at around 74. Let's give a round of applause for the world. Good job, world. We're doing good things. And then this is, if you're international relations major, which none of you are, awesome. You will know that we see these. Oh, awesome. So you've seen maps like this before, right? We see them all the time when we do different global studies, and they all look pretty much like this, right? Where the global north is chilling and the global south is on fire, and it has all of the reds and yellows. So that's pretty much the same case for access to clean water, right? We see the areas that lack the most are sub-Saharan Africa, areas of Southeast Asia, and Central America. So, but I want you to pay attention to the word safely managed drinking water services, right? Because there are different points of, water access is essentially a spectrum, right? If you are living and breathing on this planet today, you have water at some point, or you wouldn't be alive. We can only go a few days without it. Now, the kind of water that you have is really what we're talking about. So this is the spectrum of water access. So the most basic is surface water. So that's water that is collected directly from a pond, a river, a lake. It's unprotected. So that is water that might look like this, has sediment in it, not clean, not filtered, nobody's taking care of it. But people that are in the bottom billion, this is where they're walking to collect their water from because that's all they've got. A few steps above that is limited. So you have an improved source, but maybe it takes you over 30 minutes to collect that water. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what that feels like. And an improved water source is a source that has the potential to deliver safe water. They include piped water, boreholes, protected dug wells, springs, rainwater. So anything that's essentially not just like an open water source, right? This is something that's been designed. And then you have basic, which is an improved water source, but it misses the safely managed criteria by something. So it could be slightly contaminated, have higher levels of certain chemicals, and it takes you under 30 minutes to collect, right? So it's still not at home, but you still have to go out and collect it. And then safely managed, this is really what's important here, is it is located on the premise. So you can go to one of your 20 sources and just open a faucet and it's there at all times. There's no doubt about it. You don't have to think about it. Does anybody think about whether or not water's gonna come out when they like put a cup on the fridge or something like that? Or you go to one of these, maybe the you know the water fountains that it's like a sensor and you put your water bottle and you're like, is it gonna work? Well, imagine that is like your only water source, right? And you're just opening it and you're like, is it gonna work, right? So we don't want that, right? Safely managed is that it's on the premise and it's always available. And it is free completely from contamination. So it's being monitored and managed. So now that you know that, we can look at this global map a little bit more in depth, right? So within access to clean water, you see the bottom that's in blue. The 74% on 2020 is what's safely managed, and then all the other percentages go from basic all the way to surface water. So still 2% of people in the world are collecting water from open, unprotected sources. And then you can see the global breakdown in the other chart, right? So at the very top, you have the global north, Europe, and Northern America that are almost at 100% access. And then all the way at the bottom, you have sub-Saharan Africa that are at around 30 to 40% access. And then you have a whole kind of array in between, right, with Latin America at 74%. Raise your hand if you immigrated here from a country in Latin America. Nice. Where are you from? Ecuador. Is this an issue that you had heard about in your country?
Yes, so especially for people with like fewer resources, it's more difficult for them to get access to clean water. And also, there's also some people that they have their little houses on top of like the river. So every time their houses collapse and they have even more issues to deal with. Or when the rain comes, their houses are being destroyed. So they really don't have like direct access to clean water. And it's something that I feel like the government should deal with. But since Ecuador is like having like many more issues regarding like lack of security, everything like the government is doing right now, it's more focused on that issue than the water issue.
Thank you for sharing. Well, yeah, so in the US, it's hard to have a friend or know anybody that has struggled with this issue or even know people in the same country that struggle with this issue. But for many of us that either travel a lot to Latin America or that are originally from Latin America, this is something that's like common knowledge, right? People in the city have water, people in the campo don't have water, right? Or most of them don't have water. So, and this is something that the United Nations is aware of, right? So as they continue to work towards this new goal of 2030, they're still saying like, we don't know if this is going to happen, because it's the same population that, causes them to struggle with all other issues, right? So when you're looking at the bottom billion of the world, the poorest 1 billion people, it's actually 1.2 billion. These are people that live in extreme poverty. They live in very rural communities that have very little opportunities, little transportation. Sometimes there's no electricity in these places. They're places that just have not received investment. And then apart from that, it's also people that have been victims of conflict, right? So they're people that live in what are called fragile contexts. So in places where there has been civil war or political unrest, or even refugee camps, right? These are all places where people really struggle to meet their basic needs, and obviously even their higher needs of education and all of these things. So, for example, in this article, 8 out of 10 people without basic water services lived in rural areas. So meanwhile, 62% of the world's urban population did have sanitation services, but only 44% of its rural population, right? So it's even worse in terms of access to bathrooms. And why do you think it's more difficult for rural communities to receive this type of investment in infrastructure? Why would it be harder? Why do they have less? Corruption, okay, yeah, it's definitely a thing. Yes. Yeah, and that's absolutely accurate. A lot of these places are so rural, they're so out of the way of the urban centers where kind of investment and resources are accumulated, that it's just difficult to get to, right? It's difficult to reach every pocket and every little valley across every river, right? So that is definitely a huge barrier to development. And you'll see that, within the fragile context, they're behind when it comes to everything, right? So water, sanitation, hygiene. Moving on. So for first up, I want us to focus for a second on the difference between basic and safely managed water, right? The first requirement is that it was what? Available where? For safely managed water? Available 30 minutes away or on premise? Okay, yes, very good. You guys are paying attention. So while basic is, it's okay for it to be 30 minutes away to collect, and I've been to places where it's like this, right? Where there's clean water, there's a faucet, but it's 30 minutes away from your house or up to an hour away from your house. And that's not okay. It's not easy to live your life. It's not easy to meet your basic needs and then to go to school and make money and do all the things that you need to do to fulfill your purpose if you don't have access to this basic need at home, right? Walking to collect water is something that is a huge barrier to development, and it creates a very powerful poverty trap within the developing world. And so I want you guys to not just hear it from me, but to understand. So we're going to do a relay race. And I need 2 teams, and everybody's going to participate. So everybody's going to get up, except for the blue team. It's okay. You're excluded. You're immune to this. Okay, sure. Okay, so there's one jerry can over here, and this is a smaller version of what is used to go collect water in the developing world in a lot of the places that we work. So there's one right here, so let's get one group right here. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys don't want to participate? It's okay, you don't have to. You want to? Let's go, you're over here. You guys got a bonus one. Okay, so then you have your jerry can over here. So basically what we're going to do is you are going to, have you ever done a relay race? You know how this works, right? So essentially, you're going to go across the room and then come back. And then when you come back, you're going to pass it to the next person. Okay? And so once your whole team has gone to collect water and brought it back, then you're done. First team to finish wins. You guys have a bonus person, so you need to hustle. All right, if you're gonna win, knees to chest. And the winning team is gonna get a special prize. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but it's awesome. So, so I wanna make sure that you guys are really moving, okay? So who's first here? It would be you, girl. You're first. On this side, who's first? Okay, so just so you know, you gotta come all the way, you gotta tap the wall, and then go back, okay? Yeah, let's do a practice round. So essentially, you're gonna come to this wall, tap it, and then go back. You are gonna go to that wall, tap it, and then go back. Like at the same time. At the same time.
I'll stand right here. You have to tap my hand. Depends who you want.
Oh, that's a good suggestion. So maybe you guys should come this way so you're not in the way. Or whatever. Up to you. Do you want to win? I said the prize was awesome. All right, so.
So we go there, we tap her hand.
Oh. Okay, so do you have your jerry can? Do you have your jerry can? Are you guys ready? We're gonna go collect water. This isn't fun. No laughing. All right, and you're cheating. Take 2 steps back. You take 2 steps back too. You're gonna be at the front, at the beginning of the wall. You guys don't take any steps forward. All right, we're watching you. All right, on your marks, get set, go. Don't crash into each other. All right, we've got number 1. Oh, she's lost. Go back. Next person. Oh, whoa. He was ready. He was ready to receive the pass. Okay, go back. All right, whoa. It's really scary when they go through the middle. And that pass off was smooth. Oh, God. Don't fall. Don't fall. And if you do, this is FIU's fault, not Blue Mission's. Good job, good job. How many more people do we have over here? Oh, she's struggling. Girl, you gotta go to the gym. That's heavy, it's not easy. Oh, let's go. Oh, she's the last one, let's go. Wait, are you the last one? How many more people are there?
No,
No, go!
they don't have any more people.
Who has no more people?
There's 5 over here.
Take it back home. Good job, everybody. Have a seat. Okay, so we're all winners. Thank you for participating. The special prize is that you are now feeling solidarity with all of those around the world that do this every day. What could be better? Priceless. I like this microphone better. I'm a little louder. I'm going to do this one. Okay. Let me turn this off. Okay, so can you guys tell me about, especially the really skinny girl? How was that? Was it heavier than you expected? Lighter than you expected?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I can only lift 3 pounds at the gym, so it's like, it really depends on how much you could lift, but I cannot.
More of a Pilates
I mean,
girl.
hello, it made me literally almost fall on the floor.
Anybody else want to comment? Was it a little bit heavier than they expected? Lighter? You guys can just talk out loud. It's fine. You don't need a mic. It was heavier than you expected. Thank you. Exactly. That's the point, right? So it's difficult to take it across. Not difficult. Like, you can do it. We all did it, right? But you can see how heavy that is. And to have to do that for extended, and we're not just walking in an air-conditioned FIU. You're hiking, right? You're trekking. A lot of times in areas that are slippery, you're going uphill, downhill into, an area where there's a well that you can access. And this is a task that's not easy, one. It's very physically challenging. There's elderly people that have to do this, right? There's women who are pregnant that have to do this because it's their only choice. And it's also something that people don't do once a day, right? How much water is in there? Is that enough for you to take a shower, cook, clean, drink, everything that you need to do in one day, right? No, it's absolutely not. So with one of those, how many of those do you think you need to meet your lifestyle in one day? A minimum of 20. Anybody else? For just you. For just you.
Like
3, 4.
Yeah, 3, 4.
I need
So
those to shower.
So imagine it's not just going 30 minutes round trip once. It's going 30 minutes round trip to get how much your entire family needs for the day, right? So you're making multiple trips with these really heavy jerry cans. And that, it's not just that it is physically demanding and unfair and unsafe for certain populations, but it's also a huge limitation, right? Because it's estimated that around 200 million hours every single day around the globe are spent just collecting water. And who is it that collects water most for their families? Who do you think it is? Kids. Did somebody say men? Good one. No, girl. It is the women and children that are more often than not responsible for collecting water for their entire families. That's right. We strong. But it's a huge barrier to development, right? Because instead of earning a second income for their family or getting a higher education, a lot of people spend time collecting water instead of doing these things. So that is why anything short of on-premise, is it okay? No, it's not okay. I need you guys to be more awake. Is it okay? No. Anything short of on-premise is not okay. That's part of safely managed. All right. So now, next point is free from contamination, right? That was the second. I gave you the answer instead of asking you for it. That was the second part of safely managed water. And there's a tricky thing about water, right? Your water can look like this. This was the water from the open source, right? So this is obviously, is this clean? No, it's not clean. It doesn't look clean. Is this water clean? Yes. Is it? Are you sure? This is from my dog's water bowl. This is not clean. And that's the tricky thing about clean water. Or just water, right? The tricky thing is that just because it's clear does not make it clean, right? And the UN has spent a lot of money on getting more people access to clean water, but a lot of that clean water is not drinkable because it is still open to contamination. It has higher levels of chemicals. One of the most common contamination sources are actually caca water. It's not fun. And it is one of the leading causes of infant mortality in the world, right? So what are some of the challenges with that? Right. Water testing kits. This is what people should be using, right, to assess the water quality of the water that is coming out of the sources that they're relying on. And while this might seem like complicated and fancy, you need all these scientists to do this, it's actually really easy. You can do this with little kids in a classroom. You can do this at home. You can go to Home Depot, buy a water testing kit, do it at your home today. That could be interesting. You don't know what you're going to find. So essentially, my point here is that although the systems, maybe to have access to all of these rural areas, right, that could be hard to reach. So imagine if you're a national government or a national water authority and you need to make sure that all of the faucets in your entire country are delivering safely managed, clean, uncontaminated water. It could be hard to have the scale and the resources to do that. But actually testing water and making sure that it's clean is not hard. And so part of what we do at Blue Missions is train the local people where we do our water projects how to do this themselves, right? So they can continue to monitor the water quality that they have in their water sources. So I have a question, and this was more of like a joke for my international relations students, which there are none. But some people have walked in and out. So are there any more? Is there anyone that was an international relations student? Studied international relations, political science? Nobody? Okay. So my pun was, who sets the standard?
Wait, we have one here.
Oh, no.
The hot seat. Okay, so who sets the standard for water quality in the world?
Could it be the World Health Organization?
Oh, she's good, and she got it. Yes.
Thank you for the giant who.
Yes, thank you so much. So the World Health Organization, this is essentially the global authority on public health. And so they set the standard. They tell you how much caca can be in your water, which is none, how much different amounts of nitrates, ammonia, other chemicals, right? Because water does have different molecules, it has different chemicals. And the WHO basically says what is okay, what's not okay. Apart from that, they also collect all of this data that we see, how we know how many people in these very rural areas have access to clean water, right? The World Health Organization is a big part of that, and so is UNICEF, even government water providers. We also are getting a little bit fancier in this day and age, and we're starting to use GIS systems that can tell us that'll be hooked up to different water sources or to different points of access, and they can, through remote sensing, tell us how much water is coming out, and then sometimes even measure the water quality if they're really fancy. Apart from that, what's another way that we can, I don't know if anybody here read the New York Times article that this talk was based off of. I'm going to assume that we all did, right? So that article focused a lot on basically how do we know how many people have access to safely managed water, right? These are people that are living in the most rural areas of the world. So what's another way other than like just collecting water samples and testing water samples? How can we know how many people are still drinking dirty water, right? What's another data set that we can look at, rely on as an accurate way of knowing?
Surveys?
Surveys, okay, yeah. So there's definitely a lot of census and national surveys. That's a good one. What else?
Obviously, we can't interview every single person in the world.
We cannot.
But geographically try to get the best sense of everyone's living standards. You know?
Okay, yeah. Anybody else? Something that's not necessarily a census or a survey or even a question about water, but a question about something else that can tell us. What I've over here.
I was going to say maybe to take a look and see and measure the disease rates or the sickness rates.
Ding, ding, ding. That's what you're going to say? Yes. Good job. Okay, yes, everybody's right. But that's more right because that's the answer I was looking for. So, yeah. Another one. Let's go for it.
I was going to say sick because like I met the special rapporteur on water, a UN special rapporteur, and he made a visit to Peru. And basically the water in Peru is very polluted, like has a lot of nitrates, a lot of like minerals. And the people were showing him the blood tests that says that was the high level. So knowing, getting people sick, it's also a way of doing that. And then the question is, what governments can do if they know that the waters are polluted and are killing the people, because even the small boys are already having all these high levels of minerals in their blood, which they shouldn't. So they cannot, technically they shouldn't be drinking the water, but they are. And that is contaminating not only the water they drink, but the water used for food and for everything. So yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's absolutely correct. Thank you for sharing. And you know, like we've spoken about a few times, right? It's rural places are difficult to work with, difficult to give resources to because they are rural, because of topography, right? But so it might be harder to monitor water in rural places, but a lot of people will leave their rural places and go to health clinics if they're really sick, right? Or if their kids are really sick. And so that's why the World Health Organization, UNICEF, the UN, they look to other determinants of public health, of water quality, to know where are we at, how are we really making progress. So at Blue Missions, and that's why I'm relevant, I'm here with Blue Missions, in case you didn't know. We focus on water security, water access, sustainable, in-premise, safely managed, not contaminated for all. And since 2010, when we were founded, we've connected over 30,000 people with access to clean, safely managed water in the Dominican Republic. And we also provide point-of-use filters to every house. So basically, it's like a little filter that they also get to just double check and make sure 100% this water is clean. Now, before I explain how we do this, I want to share a video that I worked on earlier this year that really captures how water access changes everything, right? You guys walked for water to get a sense of what that feels like, and I really also believe in the power of video and storytelling for us to connect with what these statistics really mean. So this is a video about my friend Violeni, which hopefully will play.
Cuando pienso en mi niñez, me llegan muchos recuerdos de momentos felices. Siempre jugábamos, siempre estábamos juntos, compartiendo. Desde niña quise estudiar Derecho, tomaba mis estudios muy en serio, o sea, era muy responsable con mis tareas. Eso era lo que me ayudó a seguir adelante. Me gustaba defender a los demás. Siempre si estábamos jugando, ya había un problema entre los amiguitos, yo siempre lo defendía. Por otro lado, era un poco triste porque tenía como un estrés de vida al tener que buscar agua todos los días para hacer los oficios de la casa y para ayudar a mi mamá. Cuando hicieron el proyecto de agua en mi comunidad, eso me abrió un camino nuevo. Tenía todo el agua que yo necesitaba en mi casa para hacer todo. Eso me abrió un camino. Ese camino no me tocaba. Hoy estoy caminando hacia mi sueño y estoy en la universidad estudiando Derecho. A veces en la universidad como que pienso, ¿esta soy yo? ¿Estoy aquí? ¿Es un sueño o es la realidad? Este camino no me tocaba. El camino que me tocaba era un camino lleno de monotonía. Los oficios de la casa, preparar comida, todos los días lo mismo. Buscar agua día tras día. Si yo hubiese seguido ese camino, con los sueños que tenía por dentro, quemándome, se siente frustrado. Yo sé que estoy aquí para alumbrarle el camino a otros. Yo nací para ayudar a los demás, para defender de una forma más empoderada. Yo creo que el derecho más importante para una persona es la paz y una vida digna. Yo voy a seguir cumpliendo mis sueños para ella y para ellos.
Veterinaria, profesor, diseñadora de zapatos, salonista, cantante, enfermera, pelotero, policía, veterinaria, enfermera, abogada, doctor, profesor, artista, abogada.
Stuff is real. Are you guys in your feels? Does anybody want to share some of their thoughts or what they were thinking or feeling while watching this video? No way.
And they live in Jarabacoa, which is
beautiful.
Like, yeah, it's beautiful. It's in the mountains. And I went to go visit them. And so there's like a town, which is like apartments, so it looks normal. But then you go a few more miles up actually into the mountains, and then this is the reality for the people there. And when we went me and my siblings, we went to the river, and we looked down and we see these kids like taking a shower in the river. Then we saw there was like a little campo there, and it was this is the life. And so yeah, I completely understand. Well, no, I don't understand, but I saw that reality, and it's very sad because we're very here in the United States, we're very
And I'm sure it's cool for you as a Dominican to go back.
Yeah,
right,
and my family as well in Venezuela too, because they live there, and it's worse for them. But,
thanks for sharing. Anybody else? Okay, with that, we'll move on. But yeah, like I said, this stuff is real. Water is not just essential to life. It's essential for living a good life and to have improved health, to have better opportunities. It removes a ceiling that prevents so many people from actually discovering their full potential. And Violeni is an incredible person. She is a really good friend of mine. I've known her since she was like 15 years old. And I'll never forget when I was interviewing her for this video, I asked her, you know, tell me about your childhood, right? It's one of the first questions that she answers in the video. She's talking about her childhood. And when she told me, yeah, I was happy, you know, I would play with my cousins and my friends and all my neighbors, but it was also really sad. I was like, was it really sad? Like, is it sad now that you're an adult and you're looking back on it, or do you remember actually feeling sad? And I'll never forget her telling me, like, no, I was sad. Like, I was walking for water and I knew that was not fair, because I would go visit my grandmother in the city and see that she could just turn on a faucet and have water at her house. So I knew that this was an injustice that my community was facing. And so, you know, I think these stories are so important because sometimes we can become desensitized to the statistics. We see, 1.2 billion, right, are living in extreme poverty, living without access to clean water, walking for water every day. But those 1.2 billion people are people. They have dreams. They have aspirations. They're some of the most amazing people because they have experienced survival in a way that we don't understand. And they've figured out how to work together and how to still be happy and resilient, even though they do deal with all of these things. So they're people that not only have dreams and aspirations, but they deserve, and we would be better for it if we gave them those opportunities, right, for their voices to be heard and for them to have leadership roles within our communities. And that's really why I do this work, right? It's not because I love water. Water's cool and all, but I love people. And that's really what water is. It is a huge impact on the people that it impacts. And so don't become desensitized to statistics ever, right, guys? That's important. And I want to show you a little bit more really quick and then want to get to the main activity. I know we have until 1:30, but raise your hand if you have to leave on 1:30 on the dot. Okay, I'm going to try to be fast. Are you sure? Do you really have to leave? Okay. Your next class doesn't matter. Okay, so Blue Missions, the way we do our projects, they're gravity-driven aqueducts. We get water from a source at a high elevation, really, really far away from the community, usually like on average 5 miles from the community. So we're trekking through the jungle. Literally, when we're designing these projects, like our engineers will trek through the jungle with a GPS and a measuring tape. And it's wild to watch. But that's how these things get designed in these rural communities. We'll tap into a freshwater spring that's coming out from underground, and then we pipe that water down into a holding tank where it's filtered, it's treated, and then from that tank, gravity continues to push it down into the community where there's a faucet that's placed in every single house. So it's on premise, it's filtered, it's treated, all of the things. And apart from this, we also have water committees. So in every single town that we work in, Blue Missions does not own the project. The community owns the project. the first thing that we make them do is, if you don't already have like a local leadership, elect a local leadership, create a water committee where there's a president, a vice president, a treasurer, a secretary, a technician, someone that's going to go out to the source once a month and clean it and make sure that it's still doing well in Tussa water, right? And so that's how we are able to construct so many rural gravity-driven aqueducts, and we can rely on our water committees that have undergone this training to take care of them long into the future. And if there are interruptions in the water service, Blue Missions responds. Why are there interruptions? Let's go through this fast, but I want you guys to guess. So there's two things, nature and nurture, that cause problems, right? I'm sure your therapist has gone over this with you. As for nurture, what can humans do when we're managing things that could maybe interrupt access to clean water? Anybody? One guess. Pollution, that's a good one. Yes. So if I say, hey, you're in charge of taking care of this, I'm trusting you, bye. What's a way that can go wrong? You don't do your job. Good job. So what can go wrong with maintenance is no maintenance, right? We're working with people that have a lot of other things going on in their life. And as soon as water is now accessible, you start to take it for granted. So they can sometimes, not do the things we tell them that they need to do, like clean the tank, make sure that the filters are all being cleaned once a month. They have to also collect a monthly quota from everybody in the community. It's like $1. But essentially just to have a savings account so that if a pipe breaks, which happens because like we're digging trenches and running a system through cow fields sometimes. So like a cow will like step on an exposed pipe and break it. And so if there's money in a bank account that the community holds, then they can go and swap out the pipe and fix it really quick. If there's no money, they'll go months without it. And if there's a community that's really rural, they don't have, access to electricity, or there's no signal, then they won't, reach out for help. The other thing that I would like to go further into detail into, but I don't want to run out of time, is the tragedy of the commons. Raise your hand if you've heard of this tragedy of the commons. Can you explain it in like the fastest way? Yes.
You want me to say it again, or?
Did everybody hear that?
So when people fear scarcity, they rush to collect and actually create that scarcity that they feared.
Yes, exactly. So it's like when they say there's a hurricane coming, everybody put gas. And then what happens? Everybody's filling up their tank, and then now there's no gas because everybody's scared of it running out, right? So same happens with water. Water is a commons, right? It's not owned by anyone. Anybody can tap into it. So sometimes what will happen is in these projects, we'll have a big farmer, like this guy back there, tap into the water system and at a higher elevation, which is really when it's a problem, right? So they'll tap into the water system at a higher elevation and just overuse this water to feed their animals, to water their plants, and then so there's less and less water coming down the system available to the actual community. And this has happened several times, and it's really frustrating because it's actually not, our systems are not designed for industrial agricultural use, it's just for human consumption. So now nature. Oh, I gave you the answers. Who saw them? Who can tell me what are some of the things that can happen with nature and cause interruptions? Wow, you guys are smart. You read the first one. So drought. Raise your hand if you've heard of climate change. Raise your hand if you sweat a lot this summer. Right? Things are changing. Times are changing. Weather patterns are changing. So there are longer periods of drought, which affects the water cycle, which affects aquifers being refilled, which affects how much water goes into a water system, right? So drought is a big problem. And deforestation is also a huge problem. So we work a lot in the Dominican Republic. Their water sources are, for the most part, chef's kiss, beautiful, because it's still very forested. There's a lot of protection. Right over the border in Haiti, there are no water sources. They're far and few between because there is so much deforestation that water sources have dried out, right? And so even in the same island, you see this issue. And I'm going to explain to you why in a second. So essentially, if you don't have forests protecting your water source, you don't have water. right? We can go into the science of that on another time. You can DM me on Instagram, and I'll explain it to you. So essentially, water problems are always going to be either there's too little or it's contaminated, right? Quantity and quality. So I'm going to give you a quick example of, man, my punchline got messed up. Okay, so do you guys remember Cape Town, Day Zero? This was like in 2017, 2018. No? Cape Town, does anybody know where that is? South Africa, okay. Thank you. All right. So Cape Town is a major city in South Africa, and essentially they almost completely ran out of water, right? There was people lining up in the streets to collect water because this is their water source, and I kid you not, it is literally called the Waterskloof. And it went down to 13% of its normal capacity. And Cape Town had also undergone a huge boom in its population. So you have more people, longer drought, less water. What happens? The faucets start going, cricket, cricket, nothing's coming out, right? That scary thing that no one in a city has ever experienced. So when you're in a city, what do? You can't do I've seen this happen a bunch of times in the rural setting. Sorry, this is the Waterskloof in 2017. It's the dry skloof. There it is. Thank you. Okay, so essentially, they didn't know how to deal with it because you can't just walk to a stream when you're in a city, right? You're in essentially like a cement box. So people were put on a quota. You could only use like 13 gallons a day. The government invested in expansion of their water infrastructure and started tapping into other sources and figuring all that stuff out. That's in Cape Town. That's an issue of quantity, right? Too little. Now, in South Florida, we have a lot of water. We have no problems with how much water we have. We have too much water. Our issue is quality, right? So does anybody know where our water comes from? In the FIU water fountains, where does it come from?
Underneath.
The limestone underneath.
Yeah.
Very good. It has a name. Do you know what the name is?
Aquifers. Biscayne Aquifer.
The Biscayne Aquifer. Very good. Awesome. Give him a round of applause, our farmer. Okay, so Biscayne Aquifer, that's where we get our water from. It is under a layer of limestone rock, and essentially what recharges that aquifer is the river of grass that flows from north to south, which is what? The Everglades. Very good. Somebody said it. So the Everglades recharges the Biscayne Aquifer, but now what happens if there's less Everglades or that water is diverted? You have deforestation, habitat loss. There's less recharge. And then also, there's another problem that climate change causes, which is sea level rise, right? So when you have sea level rise, you have saltwater intrusion into underground coastal aquifers. So that's the issues that we're facing in South Florida, saltwater intrusion. We also have caca water, right? This is what they won't tell you, but we do. We have a huge septic tank issue in South Florida, outdated infrastructure. So as the water table rises, there's more salt water, and not only that, it goes into our septic tanks and then comes back down and brings caca into the Biscayne Aquifer. So lots of problems that we can focus on right here. You don't have to go to the Dominican Republic to get involved with water issues. And so that leads me to my next point. And we have 3 minutes, and nobody is allowed to leave until we finish this. Okay? I have 2 slides. Okay, so Sam, could you help me pass out? We're going to give you guys some worksheets really quick. And so essentially, I just want you guys to know where there are water sources, there are water issues. And to get close to meeting UN goal number 6, we need everybody to do their part, to find their drop and get involved in this issue, right? And everybody's passionate about something. If it's poverty, climate change, sustainability, education, health, it doesn't matter. Water has a role to play within that. So today we're going to do this little exercise called Finding Your Drop. You're going to get a worksheet that has the same things that you see, same diagram that you see on the screen. So essentially, your drop is the intersection of what you're good at, what you love to do, and an opportunity to make an impact. Okay? Buddhists would call this your dharma. In the US, we would call it your purpose. And you don't need to be in the nonprofit sector. You don't need to be an international relations student to live out your drop. right? And I want you guys to go ahead, and you have this in front of you right now, so you can start filling out what you're good at, what you love to do, what's an opportunity that's been placed, whether it's in your life or maybe that opportunity hasn't come yet, but it's something that you're passionate about and you can seek out and get further involved in. While you fill that out, I'm gonna talk about me. So what I'm good at, right? I have known from a very young age, I'm an artsy girl. Obviously I love public speaking. I love directing. I love coming up with ideas, photography, all of these different like visual arts and writing. But then what I love to do has always been to travel, and I've always loved to meet people. I love meeting people. I love talking to people, right? So I'm not like an artist that just like works in like my little cave. No, I like love to be around people, and so it's more about storytelling. And then an opportunity to make an impact. I got involved with Blue Missions when I was 16 years old. I'm old now. I'm almost 30. So that's like half of my life. I've been involved with this organization. The people in the back are offended. I'm sorry. I'm not old. I am very young. We're all very young in this room. Yeah, so basically half of my life I've been involved with this organization, and so I feel super lucky that I've had this opportunity to make an impact since I was in high school. That was put on my path. And so how do I combine that? How do I combine all three of these things? Creativity, meeting people and traveling, and the water crisis. Well, for me, it is what I'm doing right now. You don't understand. I woke up this morning and I was so excited to come here and talk to all of you people that maybe are only here for like a point or something, or the free food that was out here. No, I'm just kidding. But I was super excited to come out here and talk to you guys about this issue. Another example of what I do is that video that you guys saw. I was part of writing it and directing it. So it's using my creativity to go out, travel, meet people, and raise awareness and create new programs to help get people more access to clean water and sanitation, which to me is really all about like helping people fulfill their purpose. So that's my personal drop. So I want to invite you guys to just be creative, to think about what that drop can look like for you. There's a lot of things that you can do with your life, and especially in college, it might seem like, oh my gosh, what do? I can go this way, I can go that way, I have so many student loans, blah, 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 I need to get a job. But we've narrowed it down to 5 things that you can do with your life if you want to be in kind of like the impact sector. And that's one of these 5. So I'll let you guys kind of read it on your own. But essentially, mine is more like art and activism, right? So creating through film and writing and photography, but then combined with public service, right? So being able to, public service could also be education. Doesn't have to just be nonprofit work. So I want to invite you to think about these different pathways. Think about like, are my skills, the things that I am good at and the things that I like to do aligned with any of these or several of these? And how can I maybe go through this pathway to make an impact in this thing that I'm passionate about, what you wrote for opportunity to make an impact. You guys are in a really important age. I remember right when I graduated from FIU, or right before I graduated from FIU, I had a lot of people tell me, like, not a lot of people, just a few haters, that were like, nobody's going to pay you to help people. Nobody's going to pay you to go travel. And those are haters. That's a lie. You can do anything that you want in this world. People get paid to make TikToks. So if you want to go out and make the world a better place, you can absolutely get paid to do that, okay? So think big. Think about your purpose. Think about your job. I promise you I've done a lot of different type of work, and the type of work that's most fulfilling is when it extends beyond yourself. When it's not just about you, when it's not just about achieving your goals, achieving a paycheck. It's when you're doing something for someone that can never pay you back. There's nothing that compares to that feeling. So I didn't want anybody to leave without me giving them that message. So that's why I was holding you captive. If you got to go, you can go now. But yeah, and then as for Blue Missions, there are so many ways that you can get involved. If you want to go out into the field and serve on water projects and see what the hype is all about, you can become one of our summer interns, and you can stay out there with us leading these trips, and being a part of the projects for 6 weeks at a time. You can just go on one project. We have open university experiences available for you to volunteer abroad. And then we also have a ton of local opportunities for you to get involved in some of our local water issues, which are a lot more sustainability and environmental focused. So we have our education team over here, right? I know you thought they were students. So if you are interested in any of those opportunities, you can come up to us at the end and bye, save water. And you can talk to us at the end and we'll give you more information, but I encourage everybody to just follow us on Instagram. It's a really good way to like stay involved with the community. We have a really cool network of young professionals that are all just, you know, trying to do good, find their job in whatever way they can. It's called the Miami Impact Social Club. And if you're over 21, you can join us for a happy hour. And yeah, does anybody have any questions? At Blue Missions. Sorry, at Blue Missions. Yeah, sorry, it's kind of hard to see. Thank you. Thank you so much. 135.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And one more beautiful round of applause for Leslie. Thank you so much for that. That was absolutely fantastic. We're back again next week in person here in GC 150, where we'll welcome UNICEF to come do their Tuesday Times Roundtable, Child Rights and Why They Matter, becoming a local champion for children. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you next time.